Hi there.
How are
How you
you?
doing? I'm
I'm good.
okay. How are you? Good.
Oh, is there a delay?
I think there might be. Yeah.
Oh,
Actually, I was gonna ask you when we're talking, do you ever get like a echo?
no.
Because on the last recording that I was watching, there was this really bad echo, and
Yeah, I heard that at the beginning and then it went away at the end.
okay,
But you know
I
what?
don't
I'm
know.
hearing myself now. Yes.
Okay, I just was curious if you were dealing with that while we were talking, because I don't hear it when we're talking.
No, but yes, so I hear myself and then I hear an echo very, very low, and that's probably when it's in your computer.
Okay.
So I probably,
Yeah, and
oh, now it stopped.
I well, I wouldn't think there would be one since I'm using headphones, because it's not coming out of my speaker, but I don't know. I don't know how to fix that, I guess.
It's funny. Yeah, I heard that and I couldn't fix it in the recording, but then I noticed that towards the end it was away, so I was glad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me too. At first, it was almost hypnotic in some ways.
Yeah, right? Like when you do a track recording.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Um,
How's your mom?
she's improving. She's still in a lot of pain, um, but she is a very determined person. The doctors told her to stay down, take it easy, but she needs to get up and do everything. I think I was telling you that my dad doesn't do much. My mom does everything for him. He won't even get his own juice or put his clothes away or anything like that. So it, it was a lot of work to be out there helping them, because it wasn't just helping her, it was helping
Mm,
him so that she
mm,
wouldn't want to get up. But she's doing better, but a lot of pain still.
mm.
So,
So
yeah.
is she walking around? Is she actually doing this stuff now for him?
Yeah. Yeah, she's up and about on her walker. She's using her walker and stuff. And
Mm.
Uh, so yeah, she kind of I think got to the point where she wanted us to leave her alone. But then when I'd leave her alone, I'd get all these text messages. Your mom's not doing this. Your mom's doing that. So it was
Yeah.
like I should have just stayed out there, but I needed to come home. And then I got sick, and so I've been sick for like the last 2 weeks. It feels like so,
Oh,
but yeah, she's all right. She's gonna make it through it. But when my dad goes in next week for a
mm.
consultation for a surgery,
Yeah.
and it's gonna be a pretty intense surgery. So start all over again.
So I hope she'll be okay to be alone while he's.
Yeah, that was I think her reasoning for getting the surgery when she did was she knew she wouldn't be able to walk in the hospital with him. She wouldn't be able to
Mm,
do
mm,
what help him, and I don't think she was expecting the recovery to take as long as it is
mm.
taking. She's always been, like I said, the person that bounces back. Like she had a hysterectomy and was back to work within a week or so, type of person.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this has taken a lot out of her. So,
Well, age does play a role a little bit, I guess, as we get older,
yeah,
it's probably, I mean, not always also, but the positive mindset does help. So
yeah,
it's good that she is, a strong-willed and positive person. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. And that's what I've been trying to do with her is just get her to think about the positives and stuff because she's so stuck on being, negative. And
Hmm. Did you
she
actually
was
do
so,
some hypnosis with her?
no, I never got to. I have a real problem communicating with my parents. Like I can go out there with every intention that we're going to do this thing, and it never works out. Like in the past, when I practiced some weight loss hypnosis on them and stuff, and me and my mom had set up this plan that it was just going to be her and I. And then at the last minute, she brings my dad, and I had to like totally redo everything. It's just
Hmm.
like, I don't know. I just have a hard time communicating with them. So,
Mhm.
And my parents are both getting so hard of hearing that while I was out there, every time I would try to study or work on myself or even sleep at night, my dad's in one room and the TV is blasting so loud I can barely even think. And then my mom is in the other room and her TV is blasting so loud. And I'm just in the middle of this thing and it's just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So they're getting older.
Well, it's good
So,
that they're both like this, so then at least, they don't get on each other's nerves.
yeah.
Yeah. It's not like one hears well and one doesn't, and then it's like, put that down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did you
So
get to practice a little bit with your brother?
I didn't get to practice with him either, but I did practice last night with my partner again, and I started from the beginning, and I got all the way through the body language stuff, the tone stuff. Um, so the one thing I didn't was the last thing that you and I did, which was the art therapy. I didn't get through that part, but and it was really cool to practice with that because uh, what was it? There was a good question that came up in the beginning. It was like, well, I can't remember what do I say to the kids then, or what can I say? And I didn't know how to answer the question at first, and then I was just like, well, I'm. I mean, maybe that'll come up a little bit later, but I'm not here to tell you exactly what to say to your kid. It's more about just. I mean, because obviously, unless you know the situation, I mean, every situation is going to be different or whatever. But I can't even remember my response now, but it actually was pretty good. That it's just more about like the whole stopping and thinking before you react and all that kind of stuff. So each time that we have gone through it, other questions have come up,
Yeah.
and that's been
That's
helpful.
good.
So
That's good that he is actually asking questions so that you
yeah,
basically have to answer in a certain way, right? And what you said is
exactly.
absolutely right. And this is something that I always say. And I say, this is not a manual. This is because we're dealing with children. It's not
Right.
like this is the word you have to say. This is how you need to do it. This is when you need to do it. There is no manual for a child. It's about really understanding that child and the uniqueness of him or her, and then dealing with that situation as it comes up. Now, when it comes to language, obviously you can use exactly what we use in hypnotherapy to tell them. So basically it's use positive language instead of negative, use present tense instead of future or past, use don't use the don'ts, like
Right.
don't do that, but rather tell them what to do. um, Keep it personal unless you want to use a story, which would be an indirect suggestion. So basically you can use exactly what you do in hypnotherapy, suggestions. Yeah, how do you formulate
Yeah.
suggestions? And this is what you give the parents to do. I think we've already done that, right?
Well, actually, I was a
Got that.
little. I was going through what we hadn't covered yet, and I think, like, if you're going through the manual, it feels like we missed a chunk about where I think it started at goal setting, and then how do you listen to your children? I don't think we covered all that stuff. I mean, I know we covered some of the stuff little by
Okay.
in little parts,
Yeah, I
but
think we jumped at one point because of something. Why was that? Because
yeah, I don't know either. I kind of was just.
we had a reason why we said we'll do the social awareness before, I
I
think.
think it was me. I think it was me. I think maybe it was when we were talking about my stress or whatever, and so we were like, let's just jump into the
Yeah,
stress or something.
yeah, yeah.
But I
So
know looking at the materials, you got a lot of great examples of you know good questions to ask and that kind of stuff, and so
yeah, but I think we did speak about suggestions, didn't we? How to formulate them, and basically like we do in hypnotherapy, that we
yeah,
use the, as I said, don't use the don'ts. use the
Yeah.
do's. Keep it also personal to them. So basically, so that they, um, like if you say you are, instead of saying Joy is a really good, you know, girl, whatever, it,
Hmm.
because that's the dissociation, right? And if you say you, it's association. So that's always important. Um, yeah, basically what I said before.
Yeah.
Unless we want to use the indirect suggestions, which would be like metaphors, stories of other children, which work also really well. And this is also, we can explain to them, these are what we call indirect suggestions, right? So we're not directly saying to the child that you will be healthier if you drink the milk, but we will tell them a story. My colleague, Maria, and she has a daughter about your age. So she was really, really weak the other day, and she wanted to go swimming with her friends, and she couldn't go because she was so weak. But then Maria had a great idea, and she gave her some milk. And then she was so strong the next day that she was able to go swimming with her friends.
Yeah.
That's all we do,
Yeah.
right? So that's like
Yeah.
a story of someone else, not you, not you. I'm not talking about you, right? It's just the other
Yeah.
girl. And well, and again, this is what we do in hypnosis when we use stories or
Yeah.
any indirect suggestion. We don't address the client itself. That's a little bit the Ericksonian way of putting suggestions, right?
Yeah.
So but but stories work really, really well with children too. Yeah. So
Yeah.
in case, and I was almost sure we had spoken about it, but since in case we didn't, that's a good repetition. So basically that's what we explain to them, and you can go through the examples that I have there of also indirect suggestions. Now, from NLP, we know that in NLP we have the what we call the deletions and distortions and
Right.
generalizations. So these three are basically something that we want to avoid in NLP, or something that we want to explain more. So let's say if we use that model and we are having a conversation, and you say to me, well, I didn't really like that party. I would say to you, what exactly did you not like there? Because it's a deletion, right? You're deleting that part of what you really didn't like. So
Yeah.
in communication, we say we need to actually dive into or dig into these questions and ask. That's the meta questioning, right? So ask what's behind that question in order to avoid miscommunication, in order to avoid misunderstandings. Now, in the session, or when we say to the parents, they can actually use this. It's like using a story of someone else. It's being vague, but the mind of the child, or, like we know the mind of the client, will associate and formulate the suggestion around yourself, right? So here,
Mm.
if I use deletions or distortions, I could use a distortion saying, you know, that every time you tell me about how good you feel, your teacher will sense that you are stronger and will give you better marks or whatever. I mean, just, yeah. So
Yeah.
things that are not related at all, right? Every time you drink that milk, actually your I don't know, something will happen, something that is not related at all, which actually is a distortion, because in NLP we would say one thing has nothing to do with the other thing. So we would question it, right? We would say, how does you drinking milk mean that you love me more, or whatever? It doesn't have anything
Right.
to do with one another. But in the session, with the suggestions, we use exactly that, because it's so vague that the mind of the client or of the child will just think whatever it wants to think. This is again very Ericksonian, right? Because that's what he used to
Mm.
do. He used to just say something, and then the client would would come up with a solution on his own.
Yeah.
Right? So these are things that we can, and there are examples in the book where you can say, and then what I usually do is I put them again in groups, or if it's just one couple, you'll just say, okay, so what are typically the things that you want to say to your child? What are typically the suggestions that you want to give them, whether it's related to food or homework or sleeping patterns or getting along with their friends or whatever, or just reinforcement of motivational stuff, like how strong they are or good they are, whatever they want to say to them. But how would you now formulate that? So what are your challenges usually with that child, right? So maybe one couple or one mother would say, well, I have a challenge because she just doesn't want to eat. She never eats. Yeah. And I keep telling her she has to eat, she has to eat, she has to eat, but she doesn't. Right. So again, we can hear from that her suggestions or her way of talking would be, you have to eat. Yeah. And then we can say, if you say to a child, you have to do it, she doesn't want to do it. Right. So how can you formulate it differently?
Mhm.
What can you say? And then you let them come up with something. So you let them, whether it's two
Okay.
couples, three couples, or just one couple, you let them actually formulate the answers for their challenges. Now, usually, let's say you had three couples, each couple would have a different challenge, but then they would share all the responses. So they'll be, you know, almost prepared, let's say, in case they face a similar challenge.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's actually really a nice thing because it's not you. It's
Yeah.
them who actually get to work and get to formulate and use everything that you just told them, right? To stay positive, to stay in the present, to use positive words, etc. Yeah. So that's
Yeah, I think that was exactly what my comment was yesterday was like I'm not going to tell you exactly what to say. It's up to you to decide what to say in that moment, but it's about coming at it from a place where you're making those decisions from a calm, thought
Mhm.
out place.
Absolutely.
So I love that because that takes the pressure off of you to be able to say exactly what they need to say. They need to come
Yeah.
up with it
Yeah.
themselves.
And that's with everything, with the whole
Hmm.
course. As soon as they ask you, what do I have to do? You say, I can't
Hmm.
tell you what you have to do. I can tell you what the effects are, and then you'll come
Yeah.
up with it. Because you can always explain it by saying, because I won't be with you all the time to tell you what to do. So when you understand why we're doing it, then you'll come up with your own solutions. Plus, you need to know your own kid, right? So that's like, you can say this in every part of that course. And it's not really only taking the pressure off you. It's not only because you don't want to say it. It's
Hmm.
actually because we are doing them a favor, because we're giving them the responsibility of thinking independently when they're alone, because you will
Yeah.
not be with them. And it's not a book, it's not a manual where they can read up, okay, she did this, what do I do now? No, it's
Yeah.
not
Right.
that. It's really taking responsibility and saying, let me understand the effects of it, and then I will come up with a solution myself. That's why
Well, and it would have to be that way just based on how we talked about, the whole NLP thing where everybody has their own beliefs, their own values, all that stuff. So you couldn't have an answer that worked for everybody because everybody has a different
exactly.
opinion or, upbringing or religion or all those things. So,
Yeah. And
yeah.
even if they had two children, right?
Hmm.
You can say that sentence to one but not to the other, maybe. So it's,
Yeah.
again, it's really getting to know them, getting to know yourself, getting to know the situation, but also getting to know the effects of, if I now say, for example, negative words, how will the mind understand that? The mind will understand it as positive, because the mind doesn't understand the don'ts, for example, right? The
Yeah.
patients. So when once they know this, it'll be easy for them to somehow apply this to whatever situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And then of course we come to the point where we say, okay, so we're looking at how do we speak and what do we say and what suggestions do we give them. Obviously, we want to give them suggestions that are positive for them. But now we don't want to give them suggestions that are good for us, but good for them. So that's the part where it says, okay, formulate your goals or decide or make your goals with them and not for them.
Okay.
Right? So, and here we can really, it's a little bit of a coaching exercise with the parents that to say, okay, what is the goal of your child? Understand his stresses, understand his goals, understand his perception, and understand his perspective of life. What is important for him right now? If it's a, I don't know, a teenager who's 15 and 16, you can't tell him you can't see your friends because that will actually make the stress of, let's say he has bad grades in school and you say, okay, you can't see your friends. The grades will just turn even worse because he has, what is important for him, he cannot get. So he'll be even more stressed and that will affect his grades even more. So, understand, um, what is the perspective of that child? What is it that they need at that moment? And then formulate the goals with them. I always like to say here, because a lot of parents say, I know, I don't want them to make the same mistakes I did. Yeah, we
Yeah.
hear that a lot. Or fathers who say, I know what, boys want. I don't want my my daughter to, I want to protect her, or when it comes to drugs or smoking or alcohol, no, 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 I know how these parties work and stuff like that. So I always like to say to them, you have absolutely no idea how to be a child today. Even if you are 40 or 50 or 30 or 25 or whatever age you are, you have no idea. You have your experience, but that doesn't mean that you have the experience of your child. So you have no idea how it is to be a child today because it has changed so, so, so much. So you cannot apply your way of living to the world today. You cannot. And the same thing applies for, like for example, parents who say, oh, she's on her phone all the time, and then they say to the child, when I was young, when I was your age, we used to play outside. We had our bicycles and we were happy. We didn't have all of this stuff that you have now. We were happy. Saying something like this to a child is basically translated saying, the time I was in was much better. This time now is not good. We were happy. That means you're unhappy. That is an indirect suggestion telling that child you cannot be happy because you don't have what we had when we were happy.
Yeah.
I know this sounds very harsh, but I say it this way. And I
Yeah.
say, don't ever say this to the child because you are telling them indirectly, you cannot be happy in this time.
Yeah.
And it is not true. First of all, because you have no idea how it is to live today, and you have no idea how it is to be your child, because again, your child is very unique. Yeah. And you are depriving them from things that are now today normal and natural. For us, maybe it was normal to have a bicycle. For them, it is normal to have a phone.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I always use that one example, and I say, if you forbid your children to be on their computers, they will be jobless one day.
Yeah. Well, just to think that just this last year and a half, 2 years, how much different what kids are experiencing now. Everybody's working from home on a
Yeah.
computer, so if you
Yeah.
don't allow them to use those things, they're going to be so behind
Yeah,
and not able to communicate with the teacher and stuff like that. So,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And it's also about, just using it. I mean, every single profession nowadays uses computers. And the more
Yeah.
savvy you are, the better you have chances. I mean, everywhere. I mean, when I was young, maybe they used to say, "Do you know how to use Outlook?" And it was, yeah. And I know how to use Word. Oh my God, yeah, you're
Yeah.
hired. Now you
Yeah.
have to be able to program and there is a lot of stuff a lot
Yeah.
of stuff that you need to know. So and you can easily learn it in a playful way as a child already.
Yeah. I know one thing I've noticed recently is, you used to go out when you wanted to apply for a job, you'd go to the place that you want to apply. You'd meet somebody there and then you'd call back the next day or something like that, whatever it was. And now it's like they want you to send a little video of yourself. And
Yep.
so even that TikTok and Instagram stuff is valuable because, I mean, you might see it as silly. Why do you need to put pictures of yourself out there? But if that's how you apply for a job, you better be comfortable being in front of a camera. So,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, look at these new professions that we have. Uh, I mean, I'm not talking about like influencers and stuff like that, but I mean, look at every single young child from the age of probably 6, 7. They have their own YouTube channels. They're dancing and singing and and
yeah,
and talking about. They have their channels where they talk about computer stuff, how to do this and how to do that, and wow,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, they're actually really putting training a material out there for others of how to use stuff, and I think that's fabulous. That's so advanced. I mean, think about when I was young. You know,
yeah,
it barely. I mean, okay, I didn't have computers when I was young, but
yeah,
so but the first period of computers was just for your use of for business, right? But how much
yeah,
how and then we got into work and then we had to learn to do presentations and to talk and to it's so much easier today. So there is a lot of stuff that is actually very, very beneficial, and we have to see this too as parents. Now, having said that, it's always good to have a balance. Yeah.
yeah,
So of course, don't let them be in front of their computer night and day, and you have no idea what they're doing, and it might be dangerous too. But the stress is here on the word might. It is
right,
not necessarily dangerous. It might, depending on. And I always say the best thing to do is have a good communication, a good rapport, good trust, because then they'll tell you when there is something. The more you forbid things, the more you say, no, no, you don't, the more they will do it behind your back. And of course, they will not tell you when something goes wrong. Yeah. So the best relationships are these where you say, okay, remember the four styles? And we had the authoritative style where we said this is where you give them a field to play in, but you have borders to that field. Yeah.
right,
So you say, okay, you know what? Here's your computer, whatever, do whatever you want with it. Yeah. You need, but you have certain rules. Yeah. And for me, I often get asked this question, and it's of course this is my own opinion here, but I get asked the question, so how many hours are good? And I say again, there is no answer to that, because let's say I say to that child, I had that the other day, a woman saying, okay, no, my daughter knows exactly from 3 to 5 is her computer time, and that's it. I take the computer away after 5, because then there's dinner, and then she has to go back. So from 3 to 5 is her computer time. And I say, okay, so what if she's so fixated on these 2 hours, because that's all you give her, right? What if a friend calls at 4 and says, you want to play? she'll say no,
Yeah.
because that'll go off her precious time. So rather than doing that, rather than being so rigid, say, okay, as long as as long as you eat and your homework is done and you go to sleep and you don't have it on all night, whether you do it at 2 or at 4 or at 6, whatever you want to do it as long as you're responsible with it. Yeah. So that's always my answer when they say, well, how long or when or how should we do that?
Okay. So that actually makes me wonder then, and I don't think we talked about punishment, but I did see that in there. So, I mean, not to like direct where you were going to go with this today, but so what if they don't listen to you and they do have it on all night? What are your thoughts then on punishment? What kind of questions do you get?
Okay, so when we talk about punishment, it's always about showing them a direct consequence to what we're doing, to what they're doing. Sorry, no, we're doing. Yeah, so you have it on all night, you'll be tired in the morning, and you know what? You'll miss your bus or something, so always explain to them or show them the consequence. You're not eating, well, then you don't eat, but then you'll be hungry. Yeah, it's not you don't eat, so I'll take your computer away, because it's unrelated. Yeah.
Okay.
So punishment in a sense of showing consequences. And then what is always a good idea is that positive reinforcement instead of the negative punishment. So because a child, and that goes a little bit back to what we were saying when we were talking about attention getting, right? So when we give them the attention, or when we give them the reinforcement, when they do something, let's say they put their computer away at 8, they're in bed, they put it away and they sleep, right? Having an acknowledgement for that rather than having a punishment for the opposite.
Right. Cool.
Yeah. So I think I have something in there about positive reinforcement, right?
I think you did too.
And that's just in the book. They can read about it, but that's what you can basically tell them.
Cool.
Also, I have these pictures in where I show that picture of the is a phone bad, because often it's about phones and iPads and stuff like now today, and it's, again, it depends on the message. If a child is on the phone all the time and she's not even replying, and she's just doing that, or all the time playing games on the phone, that's of course something that will affect her, maybe negatively. But then the phone can also be a good way of, maybe the father is away traveling and she could speak to him, or the parents are divorced, and she could speak to them, or something like that. So it's always, it always depends. And that goes back, don't be rigid. Don't just say yes or no, but look at the situation and decide situationally.
Okay.
Yeah. And let me go back to the goal setting one more time.
Yeah.
Right. So when we set the goals, let us set the goals with them. So really ask them. And that's, again, a little bit, you remember when we spoke about when they come home and they have something, and instead of telling them what to do, we rather ask them, what would you like to do next time? Because
Yeah.
that will challenge their creativity and make them think about the future, and make them also think about, how could I do this better? And also they see themselves already in the future doing it. So it's like a hypnosis already that they're doing. So similarly, when we plan goals with them, instead of telling them what to do, because then they will say no, because that's, again, you can say this, you can say to the parents, close your eyes for a moment. Just close your eyes, Joy, you do it for a
Oh, sure.
moment.
Okay.
And then now just think of yourself about an hour ago, and say to yourself, I have to get to that hypno-parenting training now. How does that feel?
Stressful or like I
Stressful.
don't
Open
want to
your eyes.
have. Yeah.
Open your eyes. and
Okay.
now close your eyes again. And now go to that same place just before the call about an hour ago, and then now say, I really am excited and want to go to that training.
Yeah. And that's exactly what I did this morning.
But big difference,
Yeah,
right?
much better. Yeah, for
So
sure.
that's exactly when we set goals with them, and you could do this with them. It's a 1 minute thing again, just to because it's, small things like this. It's like the suggestibility test that we do with clients. These small things, when they realize, oh yeah, what a difference, wow. And then you say, well, that's exactly what you do with your children when you tell them, you have to eat this, finish this, you have to do this, you have to do your homework, you have to, right?
Yeah.
That's the okay, not okay thing. But if you say to them, so what is it that you actually want? Yeah. And what are the goals that you want, especially when it comes to even with small children. I wanted to say, especially when it comes to goals in life or school, or what you want to study or what you want to do, or but anything actually, even with small children, even you can ask them what they want to eat, because the more they come up with that, the more they will be proud of they have made the choice. And when you make a
Yeah.
choice, you want to do it, right? So come up with goals for them, talk about them, and obviously it is age related, and again, keep it a little bit in moderation. So don't go to the extreme of this total anti-authoritarian way where you say, I have to discuss everything with my child. No, stay in that authoritative field where you say, you can discuss a lot of things, but then there are borders, right? So, for example, okay, I have macaroni and I have rice here. Both are here on the table. Which one do you want? Yeah, I have beans and I
Yeah.
have broccoli. Which one do you want? Yeah. But then when it comes to, oh, I want to eat at midnight. No, sorry, I'm not making food at midnight. We're eating now. If you don't
Yeah.
eat now, you'll be hungry then. That's the consequence. So show them borders, show them consequences, but within this field, let them explore. Yeah.
Okay.
And the same applies to goal setting for anything. So as in small children, it starts with this, do you want to wear the pink or the orange dress today? Yeah. It's not, do you want to get dressed or not? It's not, do you want to go to school or not? It's, do you want a pink or orange dress? That's the choice they have, but they have a choice. Yeah. And then it's about food, like I said. It's about, do you want to take your teddy bear to bed? Do you want to take a shower before eating or a shower after eating? It's giving them the choice without giving them the choice of, do you want this or not? Yeah. But this
Right.
way they always feel they have a choice. They feel that they made a choice. They feel that they have a say in that, and they feel more happy to do it, and they learn to make decisions. Yeah. And then of course,
Yeah.
as they grow older, other goals, like, okay, so it's your birthday, so what do you want to do? Whom do you want to invite? Yeah. um, the more you allow them to make these decisions, the easier the party will be, because then it won't be, see, mommy, because you told me I cannot do this, and now it's not about, no, you didn't tell me anything because I decided, right? So if I decide, I cannot blame it on my mom anymore.
Okay.
Right. And it reinforces that independent thinking, it reinforces that decision making, and the feeling we don't like to be told what to do, and we are told
Mm.
what to do all the time. Our society, our politics, our government, our religion, the church, the whatever religion it is, the government, everything tells us what to do at what time, the teachers, the school system, everything.
Hmm.
And it doesn't feel good.
No, it doesn't.
So, you know, so give them that freedom at home to be within the field. Yeah. Don't go
Yeah.
overboard, but within that field, let them choose.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good.
And there are a lot of things that people really do automatically because it's a habit without really being aware of it, right? For example, when it comes to certain rules at home, but I have to because I have 3 children. I have to do that. No, you don't. What is wrong with one child sleeping at 7 and the other one at 8? If this is their rhythm, if this is what works for them. What
Yeah.
is wrong with if you have, I don't know, spaghetti and rice on the table with one eating this and one eating that, if you have both? Obviously, you're not always make 2 things, but what is wrong with one saying, I'm not so hungry today? Or it doesn't matter, but it's that individualism that we need to keep and we need to give the children. And when I do this, I, as a mother, have more freedom and more peace of mind because everybody's happy instead of fighting with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does. And yeah, it makes me think of the eating part, like how we tell people, kids, they gotta clean their plate, you gotta eat this or whatever, but then we're taking away their ability to listen to their body and tell, which is then we do with weight loss hypnosis, is get them to
Exactly.
listen to their body again and only eat when they're hungry or stop when they're full. So
Exactly. And leave something on their plate.
yeah, exactly. You don't have to eat it all just because it's in front of you or
And
someone
and
said.
you know what the worst part is? Now that poor kid is already full, right?
Hmm.
But he really wants this dessert.
Hmm.
So now he's forcing himself to finish his plate because if he doesn't finish the plate, he doesn't get dessert. So he's already full. Now he eats even more. He's stuffed,
Yeah,
but he really wants the dessert. So then he forces himself to eat the dessert too. It's so wrong.
it is. Yeah, very backwards.
But how many times do we hear this? No
Yeah,
dessert if you don't finish your plate. It's so counter, it's yeah.
yeah,
If you think about what you're actually saying, you actually understand how wrong that is.
yeah. And if you think about what that would feel like as you, if someone was forcing you to
Yeah,
keep eating something and you know you're full, how does that, that feels awful physically.
yeah,
And yeah. So,
yeah.
yeah. Cool.
You know what I
Cool.
actually do when I do I do group weight loss sessions, and
Hmm.
what I
That's
somewhat
what I want to do.
yeah, and it's really it's great because they can share and it's really nice. And I go
Hmm.
in sequence, and then at one point I will bring lunch, and then I'll bring what's it called, blindfolds, or I will blindfold them, and then I'll ask them to just take whatever, put on their plate, whatever they think they will eat. And then I blindfold them and I tell them to eat without, just look, with no eyes or without seeing. And you know that never, ever, ever, never, ever anyone finished their plate, because then they will stop when they're full and not when they see what's on their plate. And that's always a big aha moment there. So you can do that with them if you want.
Yeah, I
Not
like
with
that.
the
Yeah,
mothers, but I mean in your weight loss
yeah.
things. That's a really good one.
Cool, I like that. I
It,
think there's definitely something about having a group support and, knowing that they can talk to each other
yeah,
about it. And so, yeah. Rather than having also to have to, you could charge less because you could help more people in the same amount of time. So that's one reason I think it's cool too. So I never heard anybody do that. That's pretty cool. The blindfold thing.
and it works. It's crazy how that works.
Yeah.
It's fabulous. Before I did it, when I did the classes, I tried it with my husband for a couple of days, and
Hmm.
he never finished his plate. He never ever did. And then I took it into the group, and it was also the same effect. So it was really nice.
Yeah. I'm going to try it myself now.
Yeah, yeah, do
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, just tell them, okay, take whatever you think you'll eat, take the portion that you feel you want to eat.
Hmm. Cool. It's probably a really fun day too. Probably
Yeah,
everybody enjoys it.
it is. Yeah.
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 Cool.
Okay. I think we've pretty much discussed everything. I
Yeah, I know one thing that I'm looking at right now, and I know the law of attraction. I follow some things online and whatever, but just I know we didn't talk about it between you and I, so I don't
we
know. What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, sorry. Oh, sorry. See, because I don't have it open today because I was like, okay, I thought we had
Okay,
spoken about that. So, um, well, when we talk about suggestions, did we speak about the vision board? We did, right?
we did. That's why I'm thinking we skipped something because we were
Oh,
at the vision board, which comes later. We did the computer
okay.
and all that stuff, but yeah, we skipped that little section. So
The vision board, actually, I do the day where we do the suggestions because it
okay,
is basically suggestions. And here I explain to them what is the law of attraction really, and we talk about it. And, most people have heard about it. Most people have their own ideas and thoughts about it. And then you can explain it. You can just have it as a discussion, more or less, because, it's not really something scientific that you can give them, but tell them that, okay, what do we do when we spoke about the RAS, right?
I think we did.
Like the filter system in your mind where I think I told you the story of the Qashqai, that car.
No, no. See, I don't remember that. That was the other thing I was going to ask you. I know the of the RAS and whatever. So it's not that
Okay,
I need to
so
learn
you
what
know
it
what?
is, but
So now I know exactly. I skipped that whole part. Okay. Okay. So let me go
yeah,
through all of that.
cool. That's what
So
I just wanted to be able to get whatever stories or
yeah, 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 yeah.
so
And then what I'll do is I'll just put it in sequence for you in a small recording, and then put it like this and that and that. So you have
okay,
the sequence again.
okay,
Because yeah, for some reason we did jump.
yeah.
Don't know why.
That's all right.
But you know what? With parents, you can do the same, right? Just
Yeah.
make a note of what I do often in there. I just have my little papers, my cards of
Hmm.
every single topic, and
Hmm.
then the last day I just look which cards did I finish, I remove, and then I just know which cards do I still have to talk about, and then as it comes, because oftentimes it's very much related to the questions that they ask.
Hmm.
Obviously,
That's what I is it. Sorry, go ahead.
you just broke
I
up.
just could see how it would really easily. Okay, can you hear me right now?
Yeah.
Okay, so I could see this happening with my practice that I was doing was that the discussion would get a little bit off track, just based on the questions that were coming up and whatever, and then it would come to that place in my notes or in the book or whatever, and it'd be like, well, we already talked about that, or we're going to talk about that later. So I could see where you don't necessarily need to flow the same way every time,
Yeah.
but you'd want
Yeah.
to make sure you covered everything.
Yeah, yeah. And plus, what I was going to say, that the parents are loaded with questions, and they have their own challenges at home, right? Their own problems with their children. So they will come, and the first session they will want to offload all these questions, right? So, okay, what do I do if they and my child doesn't sleep, and what do I say then? And they have all these questions. So obviously you cannot answer all of them in the first session. You will say, okay, we'll talk about that a little bit later, but take a note of all of them. And then obviously, if something is really pressing, or you have 2 or 3 couples who are asking the same question, then you talk about this now and then the other thing later. Just make sure in the very first session, you clarify what hypnosis is and how this is affecting the mind and everything before you get into other details.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, okay, so when it comes to formulating goals, and how do we do that, and what do we really focus on? Like we said, we will focus on their goals, right? So questions like, okay, so and here we can take some questions from NLP, like, okay, so when you get that goal, what will it do for you? You know, how will you feel when you have that? So that they can feel it already, so that they can feel themselves in the future. And that's exactly like we do future pacing, right? So that's something that we can explain to them, that when they feel it, it's for their mind, it's as if it's happening already. So they're more motivated to do it. And so what do we focus on with these goals? We focus obviously on what they want, not what we want, right? So that's how we establish that. That's how we ask them questions. So always ask them questions, not with the intent of telling them what to do or giving them advice, but really to understand them, right? And here's that listening part that we didn't cover yet, so I usually do 2 games with them. Okay, you'll have the recording of that, so that's good. When it comes to listening and asking, I usually do 2 games. So first game is, I think I did that with you. Okay, so imagine you're a bus driver.
Okay.
Driving from Salem to Portland.
Okay. That was my thought.
Okay, now I'm not good with the geography there, so you have to help me with 2 or 3 stops from Salem to Portland. What is in the middle?
We have Woodburn and Wilsonville.
Okay, okay. So in Salem, there are 5 passengers on the bus.
Okay.
Then we reach Woodburn, and in Woodburn, 3 passengers get off the bus and 2 get on.
Okay.
Then we continue and we reach, what was the other one?
Wilsonville.
Welsonville.
Yeah.
In Welsonville, 1 gets off and 2 get on.
Okay.
Then we continue and there is another stop, let's say a gas station, because someone needs to get some, I don't know, we need to fill gas. And there, 1 passenger is when 1 decides to get off, but no 1 gets on.
Okay.
And then we continue and we reach Portland. Now, if there are many people, I would say, if you know the answer, please don't shout it out. Just raise your hand, okay? Just don't say it. So you'll have 1 or 2 at least who do this.
Okay.
Okay, let's say you raise your hand now, Joy. Okay?
Okay.
So I'll say, oh, Joy, so you know the answer.
Actually, no, I don't, but.
But yeah, let's say, okay, because, yeah. And then I say, so what's my question?
Okay.
And then
Yeah,
typically,
you're assuming that you want to know how many people are on the bus.
okay, that's what yeah. You know what? That's not my question. And then everybody would laugh, right?
Yeah.
So then I say, okay, so here's my question, but if you know the answer, only raise your hand, don't say it, okay? Just for the others to have a chance to also think. So here's my question now. What's the name of the bus driver?
Me, Joy.
Okay. Now you have it now. Okay. Most people don't get that.
Oh, really?
Why? Because most people will focus on the numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah. And will just totally overhear that I said, imagine you're a bus driver driving from here to there. Right. And then as soon as you start going into the numbers and 5 minus 3 plus 2 minus 1 plus 0, there's and sometimes they write, and can I one second.
Yeah, no problem.
I heard you just a minute. Yes, because I was in Dubai all the time. Oh, okay. Yes. But now I'm here. I only have like this, but I have to You don't have? No. I don't have otherwise. You don't have, a lot of people say no. Yeah, or else take it with you and then tomorrow morning. You bring it. Okay, sorry, yeah? Yeah, yeah, take your time. Sorry, Joy.
No, don't worry about it. It's fine.
My water just
Okay.
came.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
Yeah.
so yeah, so then they are so focused on the numbers and so focused on counting that they actually overhear something else, right? So and then sometimes they'll say, no, you didn't say the name. I'll say, yes, I did indirectly. And then they'll say, no, no, I don't know. And then I'll say, okay, who of you actually knows how many passengers there are on the bus? And a few will say, yeah, it's like 5 or 6, whatever. I never know. I never count it, but they'll know. And sometimes even they write, and calculate. So the thing is, and then I'll say, okay, let me say exactly what I said before. Imagine you're a bus driver. And then they go, okay, now we know, right? So, and here's what it is. So most people don't listen with the intent to understand or actually to listen. Most people and most parents listen with the intent. This is applicable to all people, but specifically to parents. They listen with the intent to give advice or to reply.
Yes.
So the child is saying something, and we are already preparing for, why did you do this?
Mm-hmm.
No, you have to do it this way. Whatever, give advice, right? So the thing is with listening that we need to start listening with empathy. Yeah. And in the book, I have these 5 steps of listening. So again, I'll play it a little bit and I'll say the first step is really ignoring. And that's when your child really is trying to tell you something and you're just doing something else and totally ignoring him. And that's really showing him also with your body language that you're really not listening. Then we have the second step, which is pretending to listen. Yeah. And that's what we do so many times. Now, here I make a joke. Usually I make a joke and I say, here's something for the husbands, right? When your wife goes shopping and she was in the mall and then she comes home and she tells you all about her shopping spree with her friends. And this, they opened that new shoe shop in the mall and this is so fabulous. They have these shoes with the lace on it and they are black and they're so beautiful. And then what they also had? They had white ones and they would go really, really well with that dress that I want to wear to the wedding next week. And I'll address, I'll look at the men and I'll say, where are you now? You're maybe looking at her and doing, but your mind is having a beer with your friends or somewhere, right? But then something happens and then she says, but then I couldn't decide because they were all so nice, so I decided to buy all 3 of them and I used your credit card. And then boom, we jump now to that third step. And if you see the steps, right, the third step is now that selective listening, where now I'm like, oh, what did you do? Because now I'm selectively listening. Yeah.
Yeah.
And selective listening is really, really dangerous because we only hear what we hear. We
Yeah.
hear what we hear. We don't even hear what we want to hear. We just hear what we hear. Sometimes we respond to things where we agree, sometimes things that we don't agree. Yeah. But we don't hear or we ignore a lot of other things, right? And then most women will then laugh and say, yeah, that's what he does. And then I say, okay, now to you women, because we address the men, right? And then I'll say, okay, what do you do when the child comes home, right? And then the child is like, mommy, we played today. And Daniel got this ball. And then Mary, she has such a nice little toy and she also brought it, but then Daniel took it away from her. And then the teacher came and then, And what are you doing? You're actually thinking about what are we doing for dinner tonight? And then she says, and
Yeah.
then I took it away. And then the teacher said she wants to see you. What? What? Why? Yeah. So I give an example for men. I give an example for women just to make it a little bit fun. And that's that selective listening, right? And then we have the fourth step of listening, which is attentive listening, where oh, sorry, he's just getting my
That's okay.
back. Thank you so much. I mentioned I'm here also. Okay. Oops. So so the next step is attentive listening, and that's we often listen attentively when we ask a question. So if I ask you now, can you exactly tell me how I get to your house? And you give me directions, I will attentively listen because I want to know something, right?
Okay.
So you ask your child, so what did she say exactly, the teacher? What did she need from me? You're listening attentively, right? But if you don't, if you're not really interested, you don't listen attentively. But then, that's really good listening already. But we want to go one step further, and that's where you see that step, empathetic listening or listening with empathy. And that's where we say we actually put ourselves in the shoes of the child and listen as if we're them. So we listen with our ears because we need to listen to the words that they're saying. We also listen with our eyes because we need to see the body language. And we listen with our hearts because we feel
Yeah.
what the child feels. And that's listening with empathy. So that's what we want to do when we listen to them. That's what we want to do when we set goals with them, or when we listen to what they have as a problem, not giving advice, not putting ourselves, not putting it into our story, but actually listening to them. Yeah. So
Yeah.
again, most people listen in order to give advice, in order to respond, and sometimes I say, it might be still from school, when the teacher asks a question, we just have to have the answer right away, right? We're trained this way. So it's actually something that is like a habit in us. We're trained to do that, but we can train ourselves to listen. So what I do here is I let the people, the couples, or I mix them, it depends, talk to each other for 2 minutes only. And during these 2 minutes, um, just listen, just listen. And when you catch yourself thinking about your own thing, just bring yourself back. So, because here's also what happens. Joey, how many children do you have?
None.
I have three.
Right.
Who asked me?
Yeah. Right.
Right? So I'll ask someone, yeah, how many children do you have? And they say, and then say, I have three. And then
Yes.
I'll say, who asked me? You know?
Yeah.
And that's what we do so often, that someone says something and then we convert it into our own life and into our own stories, and we start telling our own story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It is good for empathy and for rapport to say, oh, I have children your age, so I understand you, but then go back to that person and go back to their story. Yeah. So when we listen really with the intent to understand. Yeah. And also another thing that happens is that, let's say a mother is talking about her child who went to the playground and then he fell from the swing, and he broke his leg and it was such a disaster. And while you're talking, I'm thinking, oh my God, I hope, oh, I will never go to that playground. I hope I need to be more careful with my own children. So while one is talking, I'm thinking, having my own thoughts. And again, I'm not hearing. Yeah. And that's
Yeah.
the same thing with children. So they will be talking about, for example, what they want to do in the afternoon, or who they want to invite, or which child they want to play with. And I'm thinking of, is that a good idea? Do I know his mother? was he for? Well, no. He had, I think his brother had something to do with drugs. I don't think that's a good idea for him to play. And, these thoughts while he's actually talking about what he wants to do. So all of these are really examples of how people listen. And then you do that exercise with them where they have to talk for 2 minutes of something, and then the other person just what catches himself. Now, one thing that we can do and that we should do is clarify, because we said that communication is a two-way stream, right? So it's like I need to make sure that I speak clearly to the child, that I speak his language, but also I need to make sure that I understand him, right? So if he says something where I'm not sure, he says, yeah, and she said we need to bring a lot of food tomorrow to the class. I can ask, what do you mean by a lot? Did she say to you what you should bring exactly, or what do you mean exactly? So we can clarify, right? So these are the kind of questions that we ask, so we can, it's not interrupting, it's just clarifying, right? And then you let them do that exercise where they basically talk to each other, and then just, it's a self-awareness exercise again, how much do I listen, and how much do I just think about my answers?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Okay.
then basically all of that goes into the goal forming of goals, and forming of goals for their life basically, and what they want. And to reinforce that, I speak now about the law of attraction a little bit, and I say, look, how does the law of attraction actually work? What is it? It's not magic. It's not like I say I want a cat and then that cat will be boom right in front of me here. But what it is that we will focus more on some things that we want to attract. So we will hear more of the things that will get us in this way, or we will see an opportunity just because we're focused on, I really want that house in the mountains. So someone will talk about a house that is for rent, I'll hear it. Whereas if I'm not focused on it, I will not even hear it. It's there, right? So here I talk about the RAS, and I say the RAS is really that reticular activation system in our mind, in our brain, that will filter the information that is important for us. So, for example, and there are many examples you can give. You can either draw a black dot on a white sheet of paper and say, "What do you see?" And they'll see a black dot. And you see, but you can also say you see a white paper, right? So what are you focusing on? You can, the typical example, you can ask them, have you ever thought of buying a car and then suddenly you see this car everywhere on the streets? Even the color that you want to buy, you see it, right? So that's another example. And I have a story, a true story actually, and I always say that. So years ago, I was in Lebanon, and my oldest son was in England, and he called me one day and he said, I want to buy a Qashqai. And I said, what? He said, that's a Nissan four-wheel drive. I said, no idea. I think they don't exist here in Lebanon. And that day I hung up the phone. I stepped out of the building, and right in front of the building was a Qashqai. And then the next day, Qashqai here, the Qashqai there, and a Qashqai everywhere. Yeah. And I say, where did all these Qashqais come from? They were there, but I've never seen them, because for me, it was something that was not interesting. So that's
Yeah.
how our mind works. We will see the things that we are focused on subconsciously. We will hear words that someone talks about, a restaurant that someone talks about, something that someone talks about, that I wasn't focused on before. So the opportunities will come up when we are focusing on that. So when we set our goals, we need to set them, of course, specifically, and know where we're going, but also for the child also. And the vision boards help there a little bit, because we basically see it all the time, right? So we spoke about that last time. We could do a vision board, as in cutting out and then hanging it over the bed or over the desk, or nowadays do it on the computer, and then save it as a screensaver, or a background on the phone or something so that you see it every day. And this is basically where what your mind will attract more of, right? So that's
Okay.
with the goal setting.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I got that covered.
Yeah, that's no, that sounds good. And all that stuff is familiar to me. So I didn't really need a
Yeah,
lot there, just a few
yeah.
ideas. And
Yeah. But use,
so
I mean, use the stories. I like to use either stories in between or, I do a lot of corporate training, I told you. So I'm used to like every 10, 15 minutes, I either have a joke or a story or an exercise or something fun for them to do. So it's not boring, or an activity like they do a group work or something like that. So a lot of how this is set up comes from my corporate training, um,
cool.
where I do this because otherwise they'll just be bored and not want to participate. So you always have to have something. So that's why I have so many stories and jokes, and then they do that in a group, and then they do the activity, and then they listen again, and then they draw the vision board, they do it. So there's always something to do themselves. Also with the suggestions, like I told you, don't tell them everything. Let them come up with it.
Yeah. And I noticed that last night that so when I was talking about the parasympathetic, the nervous system, all that stuff, the brain chemical stuff, I was really reading a lot of my notes because I wanted to get it right. I didn't want to, mix it up or whatever. And so it just felt really boring to me. And it just felt like it was dragging on. It wasn't any fun. But then once it got to the part where it was just more of a conversation and it just really changed the whole feeling of it.
Yeah.
So I don't have any experience of teaching at all or groups or anything. I mean, in college, of course, I did some projects and then some of the a few little things, but this isn't something that I do all the time. So it's gonna be weird. But I love the fact that you get them involved, so it takes that pressure off. It's not just some teaching, teaching,
Yes.
teaching.
Yes.
Yeah,
And do listen again to the recordings because then you'll get
yeah.
all these little, stories in between and stuff like that. And feel free to use my stories, doesn't matter.
And I did that. I did use several of your stories as I was going along, which then would ease. Several of my own would just immediately
Yeah.
pop up. So yeah, until I have more of my own, I'm definitely gonna use the ones that you have for sure. So yeah, and they're good stories. So
Yeah. So,
cool.
yeah.
So I
So
was
I
just kind
guess
of flipping through.
I guess, yeah, I guess we did have everything now. All you need to do now is practice, practice, practice.
Yeah.
Now, Joy, I don't know if I made this offer to you already or not, but if you get a group together and I don't know if you want to do, you said you wanted to do face to face more, but if you wanted to have a Zoom call, or even if you have a face to face and you want me in there, I'll be happy to be part of at least one or two. If you want to, I'll be there the whole time. I did that for a couple of people who felt uncomfortable with their first course, and I actually co-facilitated it with them,
Okay.
um, just for them to feel more comfortable, where I let them talk more, but then at the end, it's like, let's say you do the whole facilitation and then you'd say, Mona, do you want to add something? And then I just add what I feel is necessary without putting too much, because I want to leave it here. But if you want to do that, I'll be happy to do that with you and help you there.
All right. I appreciate that. That's really cool. So yeah, I do want to. I want to practice a couple times in person, like I said, with my nephew and
Yeah,
whatever. And then
yeah,
I have another young couple that they need some help, so I could practice on them. And
yeah,
but then I would like to do a small setting, a little bit bigger, of people that I don't know. And
yeah,
then I do want to do it online, and I have a couple of people online, and that I'm in my mind. But I was wondering that I thought, well, I wonder if I could record it and send it to you and get your feedback or something like that. But I like what you just said. So
Yeah, I mean, with your friends, that's always a good idea. I mean, I'm sure you have a lot of friends with small children, and if you say, I just took that course and I need to practice, can I practice with you? I mean, they'd be glad because they're getting a lot of information for free from you, and then for you, it's a good practice. And here you could just note down wherever you had some challenges, and feel free to, either you'll what I need from you is some other way to contact you other than email.
okay,
If you could send me all details that you have, and also if you're on social media, put all the details, because I will include you in the Facebook group. I'll definitely put all your information up on the website, on the hypnoparenting website. So your name is up there, and then also link you to anything I'm doing, and then also you can get in touch with me, maybe easier. I don't know if email is the easiest, then we'd stick to email, but sometimes, here in the Middle East, we use WhatsApp for everything. But whatever works for you.
right, yeah. I'm just gonna. I'm actually at that point where I'm gonna look into WhatsApp and see if it's something I want to use.
Yeah.
Because someone brought it up, but and I'm trying to create a Facebook business page. Other than I don't know what kind of stuff to put on there yet or whatever. So if and I have a website name and address, but I don't have it published yet.
Okay.
So that's the point I'm at in my business, is trying to get myself out there somewhere. So,
Yeah, okay. But it
but
doesn't matter. What I'll do for now is just then put your address, at your physical address, and your telephone number at least on the website,
yeah,
so that who knows, might be someone
cool.
who,
And I was gonna ask you, so I've been I've been meaning to get my website finished for a long time, and it's like I work on it and then I put it away and I don't do it, and um, but I wanted to be able to have something up quickly for this, just so that if someone was looking for it. So would it be okay with you? At one point, you sent me a little list, or you have somewhere what parents will learn in the course or whatever. I think it was an email you sent me, an attachment where it was like what parents would learn, what the
yeah,
me as a trainer would learn. If I just pretty much left it kind of like it is and just put that on my website.
not the trainer part though.
Yeah, not the trainer
But yeah.
part. Yeah, obviously I'm not going to train anybody,
What
but
I
just
can do is I can send you the email that for example, when I go to schools and I do a presentation, I can send you what I give them, which is pretty
okay.
much the same thing. It's just the part of parents. Just if you want, I can send you that.
I would appreciate anything you could send,
Yeah.
any, and I thought at one time you had said that there was going to be some other video that you were going to share with me, because sometimes you do it differently, but I'm
Oh,
just my point is anything you want
yes.
to send me, I will eat it
Okay.
up. That's fine.
Okay. I will
Yeah.
look through anything that I have, and put it
Okay.
all into an email. I'll do that on the weekend though, if it's okay with you.
That's fine. Yeah, that's
uh,
cool.
and then send you everything. Um, and then also what I want to do is, I think just because it's easier now, would it be okay with you if I just sent you the digital print of the certificate with my signature, and you just print it out?
Absolutely, that's totally fine. Yeah.
Otherwise, I'd have to print it.
No,
Uh,
don't bother.
could wait till December, and then end of December could send it back with my boyfriend to Oregon.
Well, that would be fine too, but
But
I mean, I don't mind paying or to do it myself, because I
yeah,
know what the shipping costs and stuff. I just sent some
yeah,
gifts to the UK and it was ridiculous. So
yeah.
yeah,
Okay,
so
so I'll just do that. I mean, it's just
yeah,
a print, and I have my digital signature on there, if that's okay with you. So just send me exactly. Okay, so here's what I need from you. I need all your details, your full name, and the way you want it on the certificate. I
okay,
need your telephone number, your address, your full address, your date of birth, um, just for my records, not for the
okay,
not for the website.
that's okay.
And all of your websites or social media or anything that you want to have on there.
Okay.
Um, and um, and then I'll send you on the weekend everything else that you can use.
Okay. And there'll be a link to join because you said there was a Facebook group for people who've done it.
Yes, yes,
Okay, cool. Because that way I would like that, so I could communicate with other people if I
yeah,
needed to, or
yeah,
see what they were doing.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
I actually need to add a lot of people because I told you I lost my Facebook last year, right? I don't know if I said that
Oh
to you.
no.
I'm actually banned from Facebook officially. It was a very horrible story. I got hacked one day, and I had a huge following on my Facebook business page. I had about 6,000 people on there. I mean, not huge, for others have more, but for me it was really good. And one day I get hacked on my personal account, and this went on for, the guy was in, and I couldn't change my password anymore because he was in there, or the girl, whoever that was. And after about 2 hours, they changed my profile picture to a picture associated with ISIS.
Oh my goodness.
And within 2 minutes, I was blocked.
Oh my
And
goodness.
my account was disabled. And I tried to get it back. No chance, no chance. Even
Wow.
though, I sent a long message on LinkedIn because Facebook doesn't have, you cannot contact them directly. There's
Yeah, I've
no,
heard that.
yeah. So I decided to tag all the high people on LinkedIn. I tagged them. I wrote a post, a nice post. I said, not an aggressive one. And I said, if your algorithm catches within 2 minutes that picture, your algorithm should also see that I have 15 years or 10 years, whatever it was, of only positive and really, really friendly attitude and all these words for over 10 years.
Yeah.
But nothing, no response, nothing. So I was Facebook-less for a year. And now my marketing guy just opened a new Facebook for me just recently, where I left, I have a double last name. So he just, because I tried opening another one, and as soon as I had either the same name or the same group of friends or the same telephone number, boom, it was gone
They
again.
figured it out.
Now the last part of my name is gone. I have a fake date of birth. I have another phone number, another email address, which is actually my marketing guy's address. It's not mine.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm reopening all of these groups. So I still have to add a lot of people that were on the old one. So yeah.
That's why I'm so afraid to start I mean, I started creating a page. I'm afraid to post anything because I hear so many stories just like that. Or like if you use the term weight loss or whatever it is, like wrong, then you get banned. And I was told that if you do one, you should set up a personal friend or somebody else as a backup administrator or something like
Yes,
that.
yes,
So
absolutely.
in
And I
case you
do
get
have,
hacked.
yes, yes, put another
Yeah.
administrator on there. So at least the pages will stay if your
Yeah.
personal one is gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I
Well, I'm
didn't.
sorry that happened to you. That's terrible, and it's terrible that
Yeah.
Facebook is such a big company, but yet you can't get a hold of them and work out issues that you don't have anything to do
No,
with.
no. And
Yeah.
and even my phone record, Instagram was linked to Facebook too. So I can't
Yeah.
even open Instagram on my phone now.
Wow. See, that's why I'm so like everybody's like, just put yourself out there, just do it, and but
I
then
mean,
I'm like, yeah, but
yeah, I mean,
wha-
it doesn't happen that often,
yeah.
to be
But I
fair.
hear so many things about how there's all these rules and stuff what you can and can't say, and I'm not
Yeah,
familiar with what they are, and
yeah.
I don't want
I think as long as you stay, ethical and use moral words, it's fine. It's
to.
fine. I
Okay.
mean, this was a very unusual thing, but
Well, yeah.
and it went,
Wow.
he was in my account forever, and it was fine. He just did friend requests for me and posted comments and stuff, and I just saw them coming, a comment from me here, a friend request there, and couldn't do anything. But as soon as that ISIS picture came up, boom, that's where they blocked me.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, anyway.
Yeah. I guess lesson learned, and you learn to be flexible and resilient, right?
Yep, exactly. And I try to get it back. And then at one point I say, okay, let go. Fine.
Yeah.
Just start over again.
Yeah.
Starting again, small.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, well, I will send you that stuff. Maybe I'll just I'll send you a quick email by the end of today or whatever with all my
Okay.
details, and then
Okay, I'll do it tomorrow then. And then, as I said, I'll do it just on a weekend because I have training from tomorrow morning till Thursday night. Friday is my weekend. So,
Okay. Well, I hope you have a nice one once it gets here. So thank you very much for everything, and I know we'll still be in contact. So
yeah, definitely. And whenever you have, if you want to record something and send it to me, you can do that. Whatever you feel comfortable with, just do that.
okay, great.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I've really enjoyed the course, and I think it's so much more than just kids. Even I mean, you can use this a lot of the stuff with your coworkers, with your relationships. So, and it's given me a new understanding. I was back in some of my Jason Linett stuff the other day. Um, I signed up for his business training stuff, and so when I was going back into that, I came across the part where he was making a comment about how kids aren't in hypnosis all the time, and how what was his other thing? Oh, he was basically saying like the whole conscious mind, so unconscious mind part. There's no need to talk about that with your clients. Only if they were to ask and whatever. And because I was wondering to myself, well, why is it I never thought of this as something to teach someone? And it's because
Mhm.
that's how I was taught. I was taught, don't teach that to
Okay.
someone.
Huh.
This is just for your information, kind of. So anyway, taking this course has helped me look at things in a little different perspective. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
appreciate it. So
I don't know if you know Jerry Kine. Is this a
I
word?
do.
Yeah.
I know of him.
Okay. Well, he always used to say, and I love that from of him always. He was a funny guy, and I loved his way of teaching, his way of training. And he always used to say, one of his sentences is, what the mind expects to happen tends to be realized. And so he said, tell the clients everything in the pre-talk because then the mind already knows what to do, and
Hmm.
that's how I do it. I tell them exactly that they will be forgiving, so they will forgive. I'll tell them that they will be speaking to their whoever, abuser. So they know already what's happening. So I tend to explain everything so that they know, and then they're not surprised, because otherwise the conscious mind might, if you say something, if you don't explain it, and then you're in the session and you say something about, let's say, conscious or whatever, subconscious, and then their analytical mind might come in and say, why is this? And we don't want them to think, right? We just want them to go with the flow.
Hmm.
So that's my take on that,
Okay.
and again, there is no right and wrong, and I don't want to say this is right, this is wrong, this is how I do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, and I don't want to say that about Jason either, because I know a lot of people think he's just amazing, and he
Mm.
has got some really good stuff. But then everybody's different, and
Yeah, absolutely.
So who do you think? Just real quick, I know we're gonna go, but so who do you think was your um was it Jerry Kind, your like main mentor or
I think,
trainer type?
yes, I
Yeah,
think the one I admired most, and maybe because it was closest to my, how I like to work.
yeah,
um just do you know Cal Banyan? Have you heard of him?
yes, I have.
The seven path and the five path hypnosis. So,
Yeah, that was when I first started getting into wanting to learn this as a
mm,
profession. I came across him, and he was associated with someone else that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. So I quickly dismissed him, though.
okay.
And it wasn't him, it was the person that he was associated with.
Cool.
So, There's a lady in Washington.
Because
I get her stuff.
actually
What's that?
he actually has his own place with his wife.
Yeah, no, this is a lady. She's starting her own. She's got her own hypnosis training in I think it's in the Vancouver area or whatever.
Oh,
It's not coming to my mind or whatever. But and the whole thing was, it's not that she was a bad person. It was just I had asked, I had reached out for information about their training, and their response to me was like basically they won't tell me anything unless I get on a call, and
oh,
I
yeah,
didn't like that, so
yeah.
I just kind of dismissed that group and went
Okay,
on.
okay.
So
Well, the reason why I mentioned him is Cal is actually a student of Jerry's also,
okay,
and he studied with him. But then what he did is he took the material, which actually they wrote a book together. Jerry Kynan and Cal Banyan had written a book together, and then but Cal then took the material and put it into a structure and called it five path hypnosis, which is
hmm
basically the same thing that that we do, but he put it into a structure. But why I mentioned that is because you asked me, and I know them both personally, but for Cal, he's so structured. He is so organized that he needs these steps, and you do this and then that and then this, and it never resonated with me. It's like I can't work like this, and Jerry really had that. I don't know. I loved his classes. He would just sit and joke and just say, okay, you know what, the client wants this, just go with it, just. And he always said one thing that I now also do when I teach, because I took it from him. I always say, take what I teach and do your own, make your own out of it. Like, yeah, not, like, you don't have to stick to the steps. So yeah, I guess he was basically the person who affected me most.
cool, okay. Well, that's
Yeah.
good to know. I don't want to take any more trainings or anything for a while. I want to just
No,
start
you are going to
practicing,
start working.
but I know that I love to learn this stuff, so um, that's just why I asked.
Yeah. Yep. No, you need to start working, and I hope to see you working and to see some of your courses popping up.
Yeah,
And
hope so too.
if I ever come to Oregon,
I absolutely let me know. I would love to buy a cup of coffee or something like that. So I'm good.
okay.
That's too far to travel and too close to come to me, not to at least make
Sure.
attempt.
How far are you from Bend?
It's like 3.5, 4 hours, but it's a beautiful drive. And there's a place in the middle, Sisters. It's really beautiful there. Is it Sisters? I totally forget all of a sudden. Anyway, so it's not that far out of the way. So
Okay.
cool.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very
So
much.
have a great day,
You too.
and I'll wait for your email.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Bye
Bye.
bye.